Hey everybody, this is Doa from Ice Cave Radio, and I decided I would start to record the top table, the finals, quote unquote, if you will, from my local Star Wars Unlimited locals every week. This is played at Lost Planet in Torrance in the Los Angeles area. Great shop. I go there every week to play my Star Wars local, so I very much encourage you to check them out. And we have an interesting match here today. We've got Kazuda Tarkintown versus Wedge Tarkintown. And I will say the player on the left is none other than Ninja Ferret from the Discord. A lot of people know him from Conquer the Cave and from both playing and casting as well. So a familiar face over there. And yeah, thought it'd be an interesting matchup. Funny enough, we had 10 people, as we see Black One go down there. We had 10 people in the tournament. We ended up with 4 people, 2-0 going into the final round. Green Squadron A-Wing, I believe, there. And, or no, it's the other one. It's the 3-2 now. Yeah, and it's going to be, of course, Wedge being able to play that pilot for free, essentially. I believe that's Biggs there. And pardon me if I don't get everything right here. I'm still kind of memorizing all of the cards from set number 4. So, yeah, that is Biggs. There we go. So if I get a couple wrong, don't be too surprised. I'm doing my best here. But anyway, yeah. So I was 2-0 with Lando Red. There was another 2-0 that was Asajj Tarkintown, and then there were these two players. And I felt like whoa, heroic sacrifice. Yeah, right into that. So we're gonna see the trade there. So that's going to take that out right away. At least you get to draw the card, right? If you're on the Kazuda side of things. And there's the new Y-Wing as well that does 1 damage and 3 indirect damage. And just a regular Alliance X-Wing to follow it up from Kazuda there. But as I was saying, yeah, I decided to record this match rather than mine because I correctly predicted that Asajj is very, very good into Lando and that she kind of hard counters putting shields on things for free. So... Lando Red, I would say, too, is not the best way necessary to build Lando, but I had a ton of fun with that deck. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on the channel, but this was clearly going to be the better match, I think, to record. So here we are, Luke Skywalker going down on the Y-Wing here, and the crazy thing with set 4 is just how big units in space get so fast, right? You're dealing with bigger numbers than you've ever dealt with before in Star Wars Unlimited, and I think we've got a lot of tools to kind of mitigate that with things like direct hit, even things like out the airlock can be good. There's a surprise strike, so we're going to see another trade here. That does mean that Luke pops over to the ground, though. That card has a nice ability that if it would be defeated, which if the ship and upgrade is on, is defeated, the upgrade is defeated as well. So in this case, Luke says, when it's defeated, move him to the ground arena. So you've got a 3-2 on the ground now. There's a Gray Squadron Y-Wing in the air. Kazuda flips, and that's going to be another surprise strike right into base. So finally, the first damage done to base here. It looks like they are just using the phone counter there. I prefer the Game-Genic tokens myself. And I'm not just shilling here. I actually really like them. Especially the new double-sided ones are really nice, by the way. I will happily shill for Game-Genic. I think they make really good stuff. Anyway, we got Wedge. So what are we going to see played here? That Y-Wing is sitting out there, ready to go. That's the one that you kind of choose to do 2 damage to either a unit or to base. So kind of proto-indirect damage in a way. But no real big sort of Kazuda usage being used quite yet. And I didn't see who was thrown down there. That might be another Biggs. Either way, it looks like it's going to be spare the targeted, so it's going to be sent back to hand. Yeah, that's another Biggs getting sent to the graveyard there, to the trash, and 3 being tapped to play for a cause I believe in. The thing is, for a cause is coming back in a big way right now, because on the heroic side, you have a lot of very heroism-heavy decks when it comes to something like even Kazuda, but also like Poe especially, Wedge, the new Luke. So I've been seeing that card pop up a little bit more often lately. There's another Y-Wing going down, and that is oh my gosh, is that just, oh no, that's, what is that one? That's a Wolfpack Escort. Okay, so Wolfpack Escort not really getting a whole lot done right now. Can't return anything here. But, at least you do something. So a little bit of damage onto Kazuda there. But yeah, I'm sure our Kazuda player would prefer to be playing something other than just the Wolfpack Escort right now. Looks like we're moving on to the next round. These guys are playing fast, by the way, man. Fast decks, fast players. Both 2-0 coming into this. I believe, like I said, there was 4 people that were just 2-0-2-0, which was interesting. because we just do the regular local, rules of 3 rounds. And then the usually, by virtue of some 2-0s, 2-1s, and all that, you have a first, second, third, pretty well determined. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty easy to run that Y-Wing into the Wolfpack Escort. Only 1 HP on that. And am I missing something with Wedge, or should that have taken a little bit of damage back again? I probably missed something. There's the Y-Wing. Let's see. Wedge. I believe there should have been a little bit of damage done back on that. Oh, unless the damage was done by the Y-Wing. Yeah, you could have just done that as well, rather than take it on the base. That does make sense. Never mind. There's the A-Wing coming down as well. And, okay, Cartel Turncoat. So that's something that you can turn off with Kazuda. We also did see the Cassian Andor played as well. So Kazuda trying to put a little bit more pressure on and doing some damage there anyway. But we're going to need to do a little bit more. Not sure who's used Tarkintown and who has not yet at this point either. Didn't quite catch that. Usually when you cast things like this, you have a little bit more time to talk about like the meta and the state of the game and all that, but not in this case. I feel like I'm just trying to keep up with the play-by-play with the speed that these guys are playing. All right, the Y-Wing turns sideways there, right into the Cartel Turncoat. No big surprise there. And, yep, 2 damage to base. Okay. And 2 damage to Cassian Andor. All right, Cassian Andor turns sideways for 3 damage to base here. So the Wedge player getting a little bit low, but they've certainly got the advantage up in space right now. And, yeah, we're just going to play Luke for cheap on the Y-Wing, and that is going to be 6 damage incoming unless our Kazuda player has something they can do about it. They're just going to attack for 2. Bring him down to 8. The thing is as Wedge, you're kind of getting in the range of dying to some direct damage as well, but 6 damage certainly helps even out the score a little bit. What does our Kazuda player have in mind here? Remember, the Red Squadron Y-Wing still attacking on the other side. Or, no, yeah, is Red Squadron, right. There's a for a cause, and it is 4, I believe. Yep, that's right, so down to 4 damage. That's what I'm talking about. For a cause is just so good right now if you're playing Heroism, because most decks are going to be able to pretty consistently hit 4. Some of these new space decks. Rearranging things a little bit. Looks like he's going to keep the Fireball on top. Perhaps. No, discards it. Okay. Wow, all right. I mean, the Fireball does have ambush, too, which is something to consider, but there's not really a lot to ambush out there unless you're doing the Red Squadron Y-Wing. That's another Wolfpack Escort played with nothing to return. So the air advantage absolutely going over to the Wedge side, but that says with just 4 HP left going to this round, can the Wedge survive? Because there's not a lot stopping that ground damage from coming in, and another for a cause could just end it straight up too, so we'll see. This one's tense. This is a tight game 1. Decisions. I mean, this is where, if you're the Wedge player, you're like, all right, well, I got it. The thing is, Wolfpack Escort is suddenly a big threat, right? Because it represents half of your life. So you're stuck in that rock and a hard place scenario between doing damage and living. By the way, that is absolutely one of the most horrifying playmats I have ever seen. I'll just put that out there. I apologize for the playmat. I had no control over this. It would not be my choice. All right, and a couple more damage onto Andor there to avoid a little bit of the indirect. That's 3 down to 1. Is our Wedge player here in game number 1? And do they have any way to either remove Kazuda or do 12 damage from hand? I don't think there's a way to do 12 damage from hand. Even something like Trench Run will only get you up to 10 on the A-Wing there. The Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, that's the one. And, yeah, we're going to game number 2, it looks like. Yep. Just kind of showing the hand here. There was a for a cause. Oh, we had a Millennium Falcon on the Kazuda side, too. So, yeah, there was multiple ways to end that game there. as we move on to game number 2. Here we are in game number 2. The decks have been shuffled, the decks have been cut, and we will see if our Wedge player can come back and tie up the series. Again, both fast decks, and I've really been wanting to give Wedge a try because I just love the idea of discounting your pilots and all the fun stuff you can do with that. So obviously there's a lot of pilots you can play on turn 1 for free with Wedge, which puts you in a really interesting position here. There's a Phoenix Squadron A-Wing to start things off. A 3-2. You know, I'm always a little bit afraid to play a 2 health unit into a player playing aggression just because Daring Raid has come back a little bit now, and if it just dies, it's rough. Looks like it's just going to be a trade here. And, I think that's a decent strategy for Kazuda too, because you're going to be playing stuff that's a little bit higher value numbers-wise, because you're able to turn off those drawbacks, right, that would occur otherwise. And so if you can just trade early on, keep them from having things to play pilots on, you're probably going to have the edge there. Ooh, and that is the Prestige Black 1. Not bad. Pretty cool. R2 on the Y-Wing, and then we have the Cartel Turncoat as well. So 2 ships hitting the field. And this is what I'm talking about. Getting to play 2/2/3s on your 3-resource turn is pretty good. As we move on to the next turn here. We'll see what happens as everything gets readied. I didn't get one of the Prestige Black 1s. That'd be certainly a nice one to have. I do have a Victor Leader, though, so I was pretty psyched about that. Fleet Lieutenant. Going to let you attack in for a little bit more with the Y-Wing, but where will the attack go? He's got 4 HP, just going to go straight to base. I think that's probably wise, I mean, you'd be able to go theoretically 2 for 1 to something. Kazuda hasn't turned off the Cartel Turncoat yet either, so you would get the card draw from the bounties. So honestly, on second thought, I might have just gone into the Cartel Turncoat or something like that, Sure, then your opponent can put damage on it and kind of negate that a little bit, but the card draw is a big deal, and just controlling the board on that side is a big deal because, now we have, a pretty big unit come down here. I think that was Han placed on that. I didn't quite see it. Either way, that's a good amount of damage. Yep. Let's see. And we got another Cartel Turncoat. We got Kazuda jumping into the Cartel Turncoat. And yeah, I believe that was a Han Solo pilot, by the way. So it's another big chunk of damage. And, I got to say, already things are looking a little bit rough for the Wedge. When Kazuda gets out like that, now he can turn off all of the negative effects, the negative card text on things. And as a Wedge player, I'm not quite sure how you're going to come back here, Maybe you've got like a bombing run or something. You're willing to do a little bit of damage to your own side, but even I guess the bombing run would not. Well, actually, yeah, wouldn't he? It would only get rid of one of the Cartel Turncoats because the other one has Kazuda on it, and then with only 2 damage on Black 1 with Han piloting, that's 6, and so you'd still have 1 HP remaining on that. I believe Phoenix Squadron A-Wing gets played, and that was a bounce of some kind. Unfortunately, player angle did not allow us to see the card, but I believe that was probably a spare the target or something like that. And so R2 goes to the trash, the ship back, and this is looking all Kazuda right now. I got to say, yeah, for a cause, oh man. For a cause, great card, but only does damage to the base, and right now it's the board that needs attention from the Wedge player. That's a little bit rough. And yeah, revealing what was seen with for a cause, and then putting 2 back on top, 2 into the trash here, going down to 10 from another attack here. And I mean, what, 4, 6? If does he have 3 resources? He only has 2, so he can't hit for 6 and then for a cause. But either way, it's a rough spot, pretty rough spot for our Wedge player to be in. I think this game and the series might be almost over already. Yeah, Wedge. Oh, Wedge deploying to the ground. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no, and he gets bamboozled as well, so no damage even coming in from that. You can't even get the pilot discount. Ooh. That's rough. And there's a handshake. There's the concession. And yeah, Kazuda just absolutely bodying Wedge there in game number 2. And I think right there you see the value that Kazuda can bring, right? And just kind of the way to play into some of these faster ship decks is that if you do everything you can to control the ships that are coming out, you prevent the pilots from getting played, you can really kind of lock down some of this stuff. It doesn't work every time, but I think it's a good strategy, especially with what Kazuda wants to do, in that he wants to play bigger value units that you will then negate the negative text boxes for. So, cool little match. That's going to pretty much do it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.